Eternals comes to us from Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao and stars Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, and Kit Harington. And this movie tells the saga of the Eternals, a race of immortal beings who lived on Earth and shaped its history and civilizations. Now, this is our third MCU movie of the year, and I was obviously excited going into it as someone who is a big fan of the MCU, and I was a pretty big fan of Nomadland from Chloe Zhao earlier this year. So with the idea of mixing a very artsy director with a big franchise like the MCU gets me very intrigued. And all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed Eternals. Right off the bat, the first thing I want to preface is that this is a very unique and stylistic approach to the MCU. Out of everything that we've gotten in the MCU, I would say that this feels the most distant. And by that I mean it doesn't feel like your typical Iron Man. It does not feel like your typical Black Widow. This is a story told pretty much on its own. Granted, it obviously still has ties to the MCU, and there are references to characters like Doctor Strange and Iron Man. But it really is a story on its own. But I was completely fine with that, and if anything, I actually liked that they took that approach more than just connecting to the bigger MCU. It really is a bit refreshing. Let's talk about the Eternals themselves, though. My favorite Eternal, arguably out of them all, was Richard Madden as Ikaris. Robb Stark himself is now in the MCU, and might I say, I love that. Richard Madden doesn't really get the credit that I feel like he deserves. If anything, he proves in this movie that he is a damn good actor. He can play multiple different types. He's charming, he's suave, he's also funny, but he also is very dark and somber as well. Why do these sound like all of the characteristics of a James Bond?
We're gonna move on from that. Thank you, though.
Okay. Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. And the definite follow-up for me right behind Richard Madden is Kumail Nanjiani. He plays Kingo, who is a Bollywood star, and his character definitely is the comic relief of this movie, but that's okay. Kumail Nanjiani is an excellent comedic actor, but he also does have range as well. And Kumail Nanjiani finally being in the MCU is just superb. And really, all of the Eternals are good in their own way. I just didn't really attach to them or love them as much as I did like Kumail Nanjiani and Richard Madden. But Barry Keoghan as Druig, that's damn good. No surprise, this movie is directed wonderfully by Chloe Zhao. Like I said, this is definitely a movie that we've never seen before in the MCU, and it's also visually a movie that we've really never seen in the MCU before. It is gorgeous. I implore you to go see this movie on the biggest screen possible. The shots are splendid and so visually stunning. One of the plot points I found to be very interesting, and I do wish that they evolved on it just a little bit more, but for what they gave us, it was one of the bigger highlights of this movie for me. And I found it so interesting how the Eternals couldn't interfere with all the events of the MCU. For example, multiple characters ask, why didn't we help with Thanos?
Why didn't you guys help fight Thanos? Or any war, or all the other terrible things throughout history?
And then there are scenes in this movie where the Eternals are just watching as history unfolds, and Barry Keoghan's character goes, why can't we help? I won't get into spoilers, but the conclusion that they gave us regarding that whole storyline, I feel did work. Eternals is still familiar though, because specifically it does have the MCU comedy that we've grown to love. Some comedic moments can get in the way in the MCU. Here, I don't feel like they get in the way all too much because they do feel earned and they don't feel like they're interrupting emotional moments. And whenever there was a joke, I was laughing. I wasn't just smiling. It was funny. This film has a very big story to tell, and I feel like they did the best they could. Within the second act specifically, it can get overly convoluted. There's so much that we're being introduced to. We have to see this huge timeline of events throughout an all under 3-hour runtime. And for some that might be bothersome. For me, I didn't mind it all that much, and I feel like they did the best job that they could with this humongous story. And because it's such a humongous story, the characters can get lost in it, unfortunately. Some characters have development, others don't. And that goes back to what I was saying. I felt attachment to some characters, didn't feel any attachment to others. I did feel like specifically Angelina Jolie was a bit wasted here. And there's also Salma Hayek. Those two characters specifically, I don't feel were as developed as they really should have been. I mean, Salma Hayek is the leader of the Eternals. You want to connect with this very strong character, but unfortunately the movie doesn't give you enough time to really connect with her. The same goes for Angelina Jolie. They made an approach to giving her background and some more depth. To me, it didn't really work though. And I know why this specific character that I'm about to mention was underutilized, because they will most likely make some sort of TV show or maybe even a spin-off movie surrounding this character. But Kit Harington's Dane Whitman is a bit underutilized. Granted, he does have a supporting role. He's not one of the Eternals. But I definitely wouldn't have complained if we got just a little bit more of Jon Snow. Marvel, give us a Disney Plus show. And may I just say, the end credits of this movie had me giddy in my seat. Yes, I know it was spoiled. Stay off of the internet if you can. Try not to see any spoilers. Go into this movie not knowing what the end credits hold. Eternals is a gorgeous movie that looks just wonderful, has some really nice characters that I would love to see more of in the MCU, and a story that, while it is very big, it was fun to dive into. Not every character is as fleshed out as I wish they would be. And it is, again, a very big story to dive into, and it can be a little too much at times. But again, the very unique, distinguished, and different approach to the MCU, I found myself thoroughly enjoying. While all the characters might not be so great, the cast is terrific. And Chloe Zhao crafted another really solid entry into the MCU. I'm going to give Eternals a B+. Don't listen to the Rotten Tomatoes score. Go see this movie and form your own opinion. I went into it not really expecting all that much because of these bad or mediocre reviews. But at the end of the day, it is really important to go form your own opinions on very divisive films like these. So go to your movie theater and go check out Eternals this weekend. Thank you so much for watching this review, and if you did enjoy it, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel, as well as hitting that notification bell to get notified whenever new videos like this go live. Look forward to my review of Spencer coming to you guys very soon. Thank you again so much for watching. My name is Ben. People call me Meter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.